Today, we are chatting with Trienne Topp, a leadership performance coach who empowers women to lead with confidence and impact to their next level. She's also the host of Be That, Create That podcast and co author of Unleashing Her. This is a book that we were able to collaborate on with one of our business coaches, Kimberly Olson. So it's been really cool to get to connect with some of the other women that collaborated on that project. Thank you so much for being here, Trienne. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. I did a similar project going through the book and just being like, wow, wow. I am so grateful to be surrounded by these women. I thought I'm right in the middle of the book, which makes me very happy because, again, it just feels like you're just enveloped by women who are making an impact and just doing some great things and sharing their stories in a vulnerable way, which that's what we need to start, right? So I'm super excited to be sharing some of that with you guys.
I love it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find entrepreneurship and what did that journey look like for you? I love this question because everybody's answer is always insanely different. But it's so cool that everybody kind of finds themselves along similar paths while the story being completely different.
Yeah, the story is completely different, but I think what happens is that eventually so many people ask you about something that it clicks and you go, "Oh my gosh, should I be doing this? Is this my purpose? Is this my calling? Is this my what have you?" So I would start out saying, as a leadership performance coach, right? So the performance piece is all about how am I getting all the stuff done in a manner that's actually getting me to my goals or my targets, whatever you want to call it to make you comfortable. Because I teach a lot of creating the leadership lifestyle, which is basically like with every decision that we make, we are creating this life ahead of us. So we are the leaders of our life. I literally just had this conversation with my daughter in the car this morning on the way to where we're going. You know, I said, similar to Tony Robbins, life is happening for you, not life is happening to you. And those decisions that we get to choose, which we do get to choose, all starts to add up. And I started in restaurant business after I graduated with a business management degree. I started as a manager in 2003, but along the line, I mean, from 4-H, I've always been in a leadership position. I was really, really bad at it when I first started. I was the girl that's like, I have to do all the things and I am at work all the time and no one can do it like me or as fast as me. So I'm just going to do it myself. And I was headed quickly for burnout. In fact, I became a general manager within 4 years. And in that 4 years, not only did I burn myself out, but then becoming the general manager and feeling like it was all on my shoulders burnt me out. Yeah. So I actually got recruited by a fashion clothing company. I went and worked for them for 9 years. And I would say that that is what really stretched my leadership abilities, because now it was me having a child within the first year of that change. And in that first year, I was like, I can't do all the things and have a baby. I can't do this. So, not only did really thinking about the way that I was leading my team change myself and the dynamic of my team, but wow, it really changed me as a parent. Yeah. My first book that I actually wanted to write was Management Lessons I Learned from My 4-year-old, because that really, I learned so much from her and it helped me become a better leader. But I think we grow along the way. And when we stop learning is when we stop growing. And I just never stopped learning. I'm obsessed with it. So,
Yeah, same actually. I remember so I had a similar kind of background with restaurants where I sort of found myself being bored with college and understanding that all I was really doing was accruing debt and I wasn't finding any purpose. And so I made the radical decision to stop going.
Wow.
And like plenty of people had something to say about that. Especially me being an only child, and my family was just like the shock and awe of it all. And I was like, I didn't come from a wealthy family. So I really have to make decisions and that's something that intuition has been something that I've always really listened to, but I never really knew what I was doing. Like now that I've honed in on what it is that I'm actually doing, it's so much more powerful and I can steer it in the right direction, right? Instead of it just being like, well, I don't know what just happened. But yeah, I decided to stop going to college and I said, you know what? I want to learn by living my life. Like that's how I want to learn, because I've only ever been in school or in competitive sports or just something that's been so regimented and structured that I never had the opportunity to just sort of be. And I got into restaurants. I was waiting tables, I was bartending. I eventually stepped into sort of a leadership role in that capacity, but it was always, like you say, always being burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
working nights and weekends, every single holiday, just the way people treat you sometimes when you're the service provider and they're there to dine, and it's just really can be very it can make you very bitter towards people in general. So I stepped away from restaurants for a little while, and I ended up within like 3 months I became the general manager of a retail space. And I thought to myself, am I just awesome, or is this business not operating like it should? Like, why did I get to this level so quickly?
Yeah, I similarly had that. And then, once I was with that for so long, I started to feel, as we do before we become entrepreneurs, I started to feel very almost kind of crushed within my four walls. I had all these downloads coming, all these things I wanted to do. So similar to what I teach the woman who doesn't want to leave her 9 to 5, but she wants to make an impact. It was, okay, so here I am right now. What am I looking at in this company or in this business that I can make even better? How can I make small improvements just from my position or my role and not feel like I'm limited? So I did district trainings. I traveled and opened new stores. I built some social media around our personal store. And then I got asked to teach a college class. And I have always wanted to teach a college class. So I went to my district manager at the time and I said, hey, I got this offer, this opportunity. This is something I've always wanted to do. And in order for me to do that, because of the schedule, I needed to cut 2 hours off of my schedule at the store because I also had 2 babies. So she said, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to work with that. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm putting in a month notice, because I so strongly was like, this is an opportunity for me to do something I've always wanted to do. And, what else could it open up to? So I left within a month, and then I started doing business consulting for a couple local friends of mine that had their own businesses. And it really just kind of turned from there. Well, 6 months later, the person who actually used to be my general manager at the restaurant when I was 16 said, I'm buying our local restaurant. Would you be interested in being the general manager? Do you think I said yes or no? I was like, oh, heck to the no. So then he came back like a month later and he said, are you interested in being an operating partner? Yes, because
Mm-hmm.
that is more along the lines on path, right? Am I on course, off course? It was more on course to what I was doing and what I wanted to do and what lit me up. So here we are 4 years later, and I'm still the operating partner. And what I love about it is that I get real life experience every single day working with that team that I can then use with my clients or use in my Facebook group or use on my podcast. And it's what's happening now. It's not theoretical. It's not what happened to me in my 26 years of restaurant or 8 years of retail. It's that happened yesterday. And this is what I learned from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I'm totally with you. I think the restaurant industry is one of those things that like everybody should experience in some capacity. The level of empathy that you sort of learn to have, the skill set of being able to anticipate people's needs and to pivot and sort of make mistakes, but then come out the other side of it. Like being in the restaurant, it really can do that. So I think that's really fantastic that you have that going on. Speaking of your podcast, because I have a lot of guest interviews on here, the majority of them are, I want to have a podcast one day, but I don't have it yet. But you've got yours going. How long have you been doing your podcast?
I have to say that it was a year and a half in the making, and it was literally just Trienne push the record button. I didn't realize that it could be so easy. I had
Right?
all this content like in my mind. Well, then while I was in the coaching program that I was in, they happened to do a training that was podcast in a day. And my coach at the time was like, this is something you need to do. It's been on your list for a while. So I did it. I recorded, and it was an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And that
Like
was
sweaty
in
armpits, so scary.
Yes, but nobody could see you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I started it in February of this year. And I have to tell you, I went from once a week and worrying about what the content would be to releasing 2 to 3 a week now because I'm
Nice.
interviewing and meeting all these people through socials that are just, they're doing such great things that how can you not share their stories? And leadership is in every decision we make. So it all ties together and it really shows that you may think I'm just a normal person. What do I have to share? But I'm using these interviews to say, we're making an impact in every moment of every day.
Yeah.
We are leaders every moment of every day, and people are doing some amazing stuff.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. I also started mine in February, and it was a really scary thing for me to do because I've been thinking about it for a while. But the whole idea of podcasting, I think it was almost like had this air of like celebrity to it, where it was like you had to be somebody important in order to even have a podcast. It's like what I was thinking because most of us we listen to, Mel Robbins or people that have millions and millions and millions of followers in their audiences. And so I'm thinking, well, who am I like to start a
Mhm.
podcast? But finally, yeah, like you, I was like, just fucking hit the record button, just do it.
Mhm.
You never know what will come of it. And so, yeah, I started doing it, and I'm still doing one a week because I'm kind of like batching things and
Yeah.
getting some of the automation set in place and all of that. But it has been one of the most fun things that I've implemented into my business. And I'm so glad that I did it. I tell other entrepreneurs all the time, I'm like, stop being afraid, just hit record, just go do it. Set up
Yes.
your account on Spotify or, Apple or wherever you like to listen to podcasts
Mhm.
and just freaking do it.
Yeah, and it was, the tech was stopping me. The tech was definitely stopping me. So, we were encouraged to use something similar to Audacity, but
Mhm.
then I also was doing it through Spotify and I've done a couple episodes through there and I'm like, whoa, that was easy. So I literally could do it in my car if I
Yeah.
wanted to. You don't have to worry about it. The thing is, I've really learned that I can make an impact in one conversation. So if I can make an impact sharing a 5-minute thought or sharing a 20-minute interview, whatever it is, somehow it's exactly what one person might have needed today to make a difference in their life. And that feels good to me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm completely with you because every now and then I find myself encountering somebody else's podcast or a snippet of a training, and you're right, like you really only need one moment of clarity to be like, "Oh, that's what I needed to hear to go then take action in my own business and do what I need to do." And the minute that I started shifting my perspective to, like you say, being that for somebody else, it really removes so much of the pressure and so much of those vanity metrics that really just don't matter. Like it does not matter how many views you're getting on things because it's not about what's happening right now. It's about what's happening potentially, 10, 20, 30 days from now that someone's going to catch what you've recorded and it lives on. And so, yeah, that's why I do these podcast recordings on StreamYard so I can use them on YouTube and all the things because you never know where you're going to meet somebody and have that conversation. So, what are some things that you do in your podcast? I know that I saw that you share practical, no nonsense tools and strategies. What does some of that look like?
So the interviewing is my favorite piece because everybody can take a little bit away from those interviews. Even myself, I have a notebook full of notes from these beautiful women that I've had on this podcast. The other thing that I talk about, again, they're a little bit shorter trainings, but I like to work in 3s and 10s. I know that's strange, but for me, so I'll either do 3 tips for this, 10 tips for this, 10 ways I do this. So it's all in 3s and 10s. And probably one of my favorite trainings that I did was the languages of appreciation for work teams. So if you've heard of the 5 love languages for relationships, it's a similar, I mean, you just take those concepts and you apply them to who you're working with. And it can make such a difference in the culture of the team. And that is probably the training that I feel like it's on YouTube as well, but it's the one that I feel like I've gotten the most responses from that they were able to take away and implement right away. And that's what we need to be able to do. We need to be able to get that trigger in someone's mind to say, oh shit, I could do that, and take it and run. And
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite one that was very outlined and said, oh, this can happen.
Oh, I love that. Well, you know what? I will work with Trienne and get that episode linked in the show notes so you guys can just go click and watch it, because that's what we need. We need these implementation, we need these actions, the things that we can go have a quick win, but also we're going to help you sort of level up, find that next level of when you're feeling a little bit stuck. So, yeah, I think podcasting is really underutilized by so much of our community of women that I come into contact with. And I know that conversations like this are really just going to put that fire underneath them and be like, oh my gosh, if they're doing it, I can absolutely do it too. And it's so true. It really is like you make it harder than it really has to be. It's really quite simple.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
love
no
that.
one in trainings, I
So,
say, "This is really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple."
yeah.
It is not overcomplicated, you're overcomplicating it with your own imposter syndrome thoughts, and you just do it, because what I got to the point when I was working at retail was I got to the point where I was so uncomfortable in the comfort of what I was doing that I finally just I had to put myself out there, sweaty pits and all, it had to happen. So, and now, 4 years later, I can't imagine still being tied to that type of environment, even though I love the company.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I personally, I'm still working my 9 to 5 full time while building my branding business and
Mhm.
doing podcasting and all the things. And 3 years ago, if you would have asked me, like, hey, Sarah, you going to be running a branding business and having a podcast? I've been like, you're fucking nuts. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way. There's no way because I never saw that vision for myself.
Mhm.
And I think that a big part of entrepreneurship, at least for me, what it was it sort of showed me this path that I didn't even know really existed.
Mhm.
It was one of those things where it was like, wow, this has been here all along. Like I
Mhm.
could have been doing this. And obviously it's not oh, well, I wish I would have known sooner because I'm not living that kind of life. Like I appreciate all the moments, the ups, the downs, all of it. But it's just so fascinating to see the other side of it. Like I always thought having a 9 to 5 was the safest option, but then COVID hit.
Mhm.
Wasn't that safe after all, right? Everybody lost their jobs like in the blink of an eye. And who thrived? Entrepreneurs doing business online.
Well, and here's
Like,
the thing, we all get to choose, our skills that we love to use and our passions. And what's great is, yes, a lot of them can be hobbies, and I just enjoy doing this, right? However, we're in a world right now that needs different forms of income. So, entrepreneurship, I think the word scares people sometimes because they think it means that I have to be in a brick and mortar or I have to have an online business that's in the millions. We don't all start that way, and I can stay in my 9 to 5, but I can bring in an extra income. And in that extra income, it can be something that's skill and passion filled that I'm getting paid to help and be in service to someone else. That feels amazing. And I'm getting the extra income. So it's a win win.
yeah,
So entrepreneurship is basically another way of getting an income into your family or into your lifestyle, doing something that you absolutely love to do, you're really good at, and you're serving someone else.
yeah. And that's exactly how it fits into my life. I was just telling somebody yesterday while recording another podcast that um, I typically find myself working, technically working 6 or 7 days a week. But the majority of, any of the work I'm doing outside of my 9 to 5, when I'm doing my branding work, when I'm recording podcasts, when I'm doing trainings, it doesn't feel like work. I am having a lot of fun. And let's
Mhm.
be honest, sitting around and watching TV isn't paying the bills. So
Mhm.
while I might have a movie playing, I'm on my computer building landing pages for clients and, doing email sequences. Like I'm doing something productive that's making me money while also having fun and feeling relaxed. Like when you find that harmony, you really, really can capitalize on it and it really can level up your life. Like it's not about replacing one and getting rid of one of them. It's
Mhm.
about finding that harmony. And, not to say that something down the road is going to shift depending on demand, but yeah, it really can't, it doesn't have to be that scary. And I think that's a big misconception, especially in the network marketing space where it's like
Mhm.
15 minutes a day, you can completely replace your 9 to 5 job. It's like, no,
No.
no.
No,
And
but
there's a
can
little
you
bit of a lie
supplement it?
around it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people are as forthright with how that actually happens.
Mhm.
And sometimes it doesn't have to replace your 9 to 5. It can be an extra $50 a month, an extra $500 a month. But finding that passion, to having a skill set for something, because my branding work, it all started just because I liked doing it. I just
Yeah.
found myself doing it a lot and then was getting complimented a lot. And so I said, well, maybe I should make a business out of this.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's exactly what you mentioned in the very beginning. Find something you're passionate about
Mhm.
and run with
People
it.
were asking me so many questions, and I was like, why am I not doing this professionally? I'm giving away a lot of free advice, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, you say something, you're like, damn, that was good. I got to write that
Yeah.
down.
And I was like, my district manager is banking off of me training our district team. So I need to do something with that. And moving to a district manager level at that point in my child's life was not going to work. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't a future opportunity, but it was not an opportunity then. And I think rather than staying stalemate, I had to say, what could I do? And I tell you what, I have dropped my kid off at preschool every single day for the whole time she was at school. I drive them to school probably 90% of the time now. I've never missed a holiday party unless they wanted to invite their aunt on purpose. And when it comes to, you can't replace that time,
Yeah.
you know? So, there's so many benefits on the client side, but there have been so many benefits on the family side. That's again, irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's when you really, when you find your flow and you can find that harmony between what you're doing is enriching your family's life while
Mhm.
also providing financial, extra streams of income and enriching a client's life and making their life and their business better. When you have sort of that harmony between all of it, that's when you know you found the flow and you're like, okay, let me stick with this. Let me ride this out. And it's only going to get better from there. It's going to evolve and become something really fantastic for you and everybody that becomes involved in it. So, yeah, that's fantastic. I love this conversation. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up a little bit, what does working with you look like? Like, what's a day in the life kind of situation with, having Trienne Topp as the leadership performance coach?
Well, that's funny that you say that because my day in the life is so different every single day. So I teach character
Yes.
education during the school year. So that adds like this whole nother level of accountability, responsibility, what have you. So working with me, there's a couple different things that we can do. I enjoy group coaching when it is in a short period of time. So I've gone 21 days to 6 weeks. Got a couple different programs that we do in that. My one-on-one connections are they're fire. It's a lot of, I actually use Telegram instead of Voxer because I like to video talk and I like to like see it in people's expressions, or I love it when they send me a video win. So I use Telegram in lieu of Voxer, but they have full access and they ask a question and I answer, but my answer is always answered with a question. I'm going to throw that out there. I am not there to do it for them. I am not there to answer the question for them. I'm there to have a conversation about how they feel about the question they just asked me. Because I've been in a coaching situation where, not her fault at all, I really admired her. And I got to the point, and the reason I stopped coaching with her was because I couldn't answer questions on my own. I had to have her validation. Not her fault, my fault. So I was like, the next time I go into a coaching and with my own coaching, I make sure I ask a lot of questions. So finally the person says, oh, well, that feels right. That's what I'm going to do. Um, right, wrong, or indifferent depends on the person, but that's how I personally coach because I want to empower people to lead themselves and rather than just do what I tell them to do. That's not necessarily coaching for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm super connected to that method of coaching. I do the
Mhm.
same with my coaching clients. And it's a big message that I get across just in general is that any of the answers that you're seeking, they are all found within you.
Mhm.
So anything that is outside of you is simply a tool to maybe get you there faster, get
Mhm.
you there with a little more clarity, like be that soundboard that just helps you sift through the mud of it and find the answer on the other side. But the answer is always going to come from you. It cannot come from anybody else because it's not part of you, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I'm very connected to that type of
Yeah.
coaching. I love that you're doing that. I'll have
Yeah.
to look
So
up Telegraph. I'm not familiar with it.
I love it. And the other thing is in the book that we were both in, that was one of the main things that I shared is taking those 6 F's similar to the wheel of life and going. So in the book, I talk about creating a personal growth plan. So you take those 6 areas, you rate yourself on a 1 to 10, again, simple, not easy. And then
Right.
I say, okay, so maybe it's relationships, family, what have you. So maybe in that area, I'm giving myself maybe a 4. Okay, how can I create a 6, a 7, a 8 relationship with my kids or my spouse? Who do I see that really does that? Could I use them as a mentor? Could I use them as an accountability partner? Can I reach out to them and just get some simple tips and tricks? So I do a lot of things on a scale basis because I think as soon as we evaluate where we're at and where we want to be, then we can fill in those gaps in the middle. And what we really talk about back and forth through Telegram is this is a win I had today. I feel a little bit further ahead. This is something that happened. I feel like I'm closer to a 7. This is, so
Yeah.
it's giving them a way to measure for themselves. Not because I said this is what we're going to do, but because this is how they feel about whatever the area is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And a lot of the coaching that I have found to be the most successful and to have the most sort of revelations from the client side of it is when you can simply be the one that says, look, here's the road, here's the path, here's where the potholes are.
Mm.
Go have fun. Like, you
Mhm.
sort of just show them the way and it helps them go a little bit faster. But yeah, I love the scale situation too, because it helps visualize a little bit. People are very goal oriented in
Mhm.
general. I find it's just sort of conditioned in us. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. Well, anybody listening to this episode should absolutely go and connect with Trienne. I'm going to put her, I will link the episode that we referred to. I'm going to make
Mhm.
a note here for the 3 um, what was it? The 3
It's
leadership.
our appreciation languages for work teams.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll get that from Trienne and I'll link it in the show notes for you guys.
Mhm.
And then head over to her community, the Female Leader Headquarters. And she does everything in there first. So if you want to be the first to connect with her on any of her projects, podcast episodes, trainings, all the things, that's where you're going to find her. Trienne, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I can't wait to hear back from some of the community how they like the training. And obviously, anybody that gets the book, our information is in there as well. And I just love having conversations with people that are excited about, where they're going and what that's going to look like for them.
Oh, I love it. All right. Until next time, we'll talk later.